Nuclear weapon would split human history. In the worst case, in 1 minute it can kill hundreds or millions of the people. The worst part is after that, which can destroy billions or maybe our civilization. So, what happened after big devastation and how you can survive? 78 years ago, United States conducted the first nuclear test explosion in New Mexico, and it didn't take long us dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japanese cities. But what would a nuclear bomb blast look like for those on the ground, and what would happen in the aftermath? As you know, nuclear weapons are the most destructive, inhuman and indiscriminate weapons ever created, both in the scale of the devastation they causes, and in their uniquely persistent, spreading, genetically damaging radioactive fallout. They are unlike any other weapons. According to the Federation of American Scientists, Russia and us have 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. Even thinking about the war between these two countries is scary. Think about our second. A full-scale nuclear war could easily represent an extinction even for humanity. Not just because of the initial deaths but also because of the global cooling. When a nuclear bomb explodes, smoke and dust go to the sky. A cloud that has a special resemblance to mushroom prevents sunlight from entering the Earth's surface. Weather is getting quickly kill crops and animal life. This will also be vulnerable to malnutrition and disease. Now Earth has turned into a hell that burns everyone with it. But, just after a few seconds, nothing can stop radioactive particle. The most immediate effect of a nuclear explosion is an intense burst of nuclear radiation, primarily gamma ray and neutrons. This direct radiation is produced in the weapon's nuclear reactions themselves, and lasts well under a second. Lethal direct radionotion extends nearly a mile from a 10-kiloton explosion. Exactly 7 hours after an explosion, residual radioactivity will have decreased to about 10% of its amount at 1 hour, and after another 48 hours it will have decreased to 1%. Of course, some stay in the environment for a long time because they have long half-lives, which has a half-life of about 30 years. By the end of 1945, after the blast, caused an estimated 140,000 deaths, but the worst thing is that many of the survivors after Doomsday would face other terrible side effects from the radiation. Even a decade after this incident, the number of cancer patients increases so much that hospitals refuse to treat new patients. The Hiroshima explosion yielded some 200 different kinds of radioactive isotopes, that is, nuclear fission particles of uranium and plutonium that escaped fission. Following the explosion, these and other materials irradiated by neutrons from the bomb were carried high into the atmosphere. The mixing of enormous amounts of airborne irradiated materials combined with heat and thermal currents from the firestorms led to rainfall in both cities within 30 to 40 minutes of the bombings. Black rain reached ground level as sticky, dark radioactive water. It not only stained skin, clothing, and building, but also was ingested by breathing and by consumption of contaminated food or water, causing radiation poisoning. After these few minutes we realized that the area nuclear bomb want to land is too important. Only July 26, 1946, the U.S. military tried a new type of nuclear teat. A joint Navy task force has suspended a nuclear device, oddly named Helen of Bikini, 90 feet below the surface of the water, in the middle of Bikini Atoll, one of the isolated rings of coralline that make up the Marshall Islands. Just in the seconds after the blast hit the surface, a cloud of radioactive condensation unfurled across the lagoon. But this is only the appearance of the matter. But if we take a deeper look, we understand that radioactive radiation quickly reaches several kilometers from the explosion area. Underwater, unclear blast close to the surface can disperse radioactive water and steam over a large area, with severe effects on marine life, nearby infrastructures and humans. Creatures under the sea that have no way to escape are quickly killed or die within a few hours. Now, this area has become uninhabitable, and no creature will be able to live in this area. After seeing the strange ability and power of this bomb, a question arises. How can we survive? Now you should listen carefully, because from this moment, every second that passes is important for your survival. In a flash, a nuclear warhead unleashed the destructive power of hundreds of kilotons of TNT. The resulting inferno, and the blast wave that follows, instantly kill people directly in their path. In the first point you have to find and go somewhere below the surface to avoid initial explosion. At the second point you should have food for at least a month to reduce the risk of the radioactive radiation. Be ready right now.
You knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.